she's in kindergarten in this photo. It feels like yesterday for me. And I'm not trying. Look, I don't feel any guilt. It gets so much better, but it just, man, everybody tells you it's going to happen quick. You're going to blink and they'll be grown and flown. And it happens super quick. And I'm so excited. Look, I don't buy the lie that there's 18 summers. And I think it gets better and better and better. And your relationship changes. But I get real nostalgic.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I think you hit on something important. Your relationship changes. And good, you're crying. So we've achieved something here in this podcast. We've laughed, we've cried, we've thought about the past. We're talking about the future. So we're checking every box on this podcast.
I cannot believe that we are saying this, John.
What are we saying, Paula?
We're looking at colleges. We are doing college visits and college tours with our high school junior.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's overwhelming. It's confusing. It's been a learning process for us, all of those things.
Yeah. So everybody, welcome to the Paula Faris Show. I'm your host, Paula. John, my husband, is joining me all month. And this conversation is going to be dedicated to us not knowing the heck what we're doing right now. This is new territory for us. We're going to talk all about it as our daughter is navigating college. And I know so many of you are probably in that situation right now. We've been loving hearing what the advice that you guys have for us. John, it's been a great couple of weeks on the podcast. You joined me last week with Dallas Jenkins, creator of The Chosen.
Dallas
director.
is the man. Definitely listen to that episode.
And the week before, did an episode with my new friend, Rachel Autry. She's a blogger, a mother, a podcaster. And we talked about how to navigate whose house you're going to go to for the holidays. That's a hot topic right now. We also talked about that somewhat tenuous relationship with our mothers-in-law. John, did you even know that we had a conversation about our mothers-in-law?
You have a conversation about my mom a lot, but you had one on that you recorded that it's going to be aired?
Yeah, you should probably. Oh, it already aired, John.
Thanks. Oh, it already aired. I guess I should listen to your podcast more. Not just the ones I'm on.
Exactly. I love Janet, but you have to listen to it to check it out. Okay. But I was surprised to learn in that conversation, John, that the majority of daughters-in-law say that they have a positive, if not very positive, relationship with their mothers-in-law. So it was just an interesting conversation talking about that relationship, how sometimes it gets a bad rap. And we had a little bit of advice for all of our mothers-in-law and those of us that want to be a mother-in-law one day. So make sure you check it out, John. You can hear everything that I have ever said about your mother.
I'm texting my mom right now so she can listen to it, and it can be great topics here at Christmas time.
Oh, it's going to be great. Janet, I love you. I do love your mom. Okay. We have had our moments, but I do love your mom.
You've had your moments with about everybody. So
I have. That's a really good call. By the way, we are doing an Ask Us Anything episode next week. We're going to get to a couple of your questions this week, but I gave all of you who have subscribed to my personal newsletter at paulafarisofficial.com first dibs at some of those questions. And John, some of them are real juicy and real spicy. Do you want to hear a couple of the questions that people have for us that we're going to answer next week?
Yeah, then I can start preparing for those answers. Sure.
Or should I not give it away? Like, do you want to just be surprised?
I like being surprised, but maybe give one just as a teaser for the audience.
Well, a couple of people want to know if we fight, like a lot. Don't answer that. Another person wants to know my thoughts on the election and mainstream media. I'm sure you're going to have a lot to say about that.
You'll have a lot to say about mainstream media since you were part of it for several years.
Yes. And another question, how do we feel about our kids dating? Well, our teenagers dating. Yeah, we're in that right now.
Yeah.
I'm starting to tweak right now, just thinking about that. But anyway, make sure you're signed up for my personal newsletter. We are going to get to all of those questions. We have a lot of them in next week's episode, our Ask Us Anything episode. We'll get to a couple of them today as we tackle this conversation about college visits and how we navigate it. Again, we are novices. We are neophytes. If I want to throw out a big word, that's a word
you probably learned in college, right? Or did you learn that after college?
I learned that after college. I actually learned that from my former ABC colleague, Tom Yamas, who's now at NBC. He used that word.
Tom is a very smart man.
He is. And I was like, Tom, that's a cool word. I'm going to steal it and I'm going to use it in perpetuity so I can sound smart. A neophyte just means like you're a beginner. You have no idea what you're doing. So you're a novice.
Paula, since we are talking about colleges, before we jump into this episode, I do want to congratulate you and the Michigan Wolverines. What a weekend you guys had. I know you woke up that Saturday morning with very, very low expectations. You were thinking blowout by Ohio State, and it went to be in a moment where you'll probably remember that win more than even last year's win when they won the national championship. That was a big win because they weren't expected to win that one.
I will proudly eat crow. I think I told you, I said, I'm pretty sure Ohio State's going to hang 60 or 70 on Michigan. Look, and I have said all year, and by the way, I'm wearing my daddy's lucky sweatshirt, his University of Michigan alum sweatshirt, which I didn't wear all year this season. But I did wear it for the Ohio State game this year. But I wore it all last year when they won the national championship. So it was kind of like a lucky sweatshirt. So it is good luck. But I even told you, I'm pretty sure that Ohio State's going to hang 60 or 70 points. And they're a great team. They're one of the top teams in the country.
In a rivalry game, throw out the record. It's all about who wants it more that day.
I agree. And we are 1-0. And that's all that matters. Michigan could go over until they enter the Ohio State game. And it doesn't matter. As long as we beat Ohio State, and Ohio State feels the same way, as long as they beat Michigan.
They haven't felt that way in a while because they haven't won in a while. But I don't think the viewers want to hear us talk about Ohio State, but I did want to say congratulations to you.
Thank you. And I've had a lot of Ohio State fans reach out. Yes, we can still be friends. I promise. Look, I mean, you guys had the better end of the rivalry for like 14 years. Okay. So the pendulum is swinging a little bit, but we'll see. But hey, good luck to the Big Ten in the playoffs. That's all I'm going to say. All right. So John, let's talk about college visits.
Let's talk about it.
This is something that wasn't even on our radar until really this year. And I guess that's typically what I've learned. You know, we did a series on college with 4 different episodes earlier in 2024. And this is something that I learned that you start looking at colleges and doing the college visits your junior year. So we have started to visit colleges, and we have 2 under our belt. We have a bunch more to go. We have been to Clemson, which is just down the road from us, 25 minutes away, Clemson, South Carolina.
I'm wearing my Clemson shirt today just to represent because we had a good tour there.
You look good in orange, by the way.
Yeah. Well, okay.
All right. But it doesn't matter what you think, right? It only matters what our daughter thinks. And we have been to the University of Georgia in Athens, Georgia, which is 90 minutes from our house. So 2 very proximate schools so far. And how do you think we did as parents? Because I
know I can only speak for myself. I think I did outstanding. I was really prepared. I think I, stayed out of the way. I asked appropriate questions and I made it fun for us. But you can speak for yourself how you did.
Wait a second. You said you were prepared. How did you prepare for it?
I showed up.
I was the one that booked that.
Me showing up is me being prepared.
Oh my gosh, you have so much confidence. All I could hear was Chip Layton's voice in my head. So Chip Layton of The Layton Show wrote a very funny book, What Time Is Noon? And if you guys aren't following him on Instagram, hilarious. He posts all kinds of reels. He's gone viral many times over for his reels on funny texts from your college freshmen or funny texts from your teenagers. He was a guest on the podcast as well. And when we were in conversation with him, all I could hear was his voice in my head saying, "Don't ask any questions when you're on the tour with your kid." And so we're on the tour and I have that Chip's voice in the back of my head saying, "Paula, don't ask any questions." That's impossible for me. My nickname is Paula 20 Questions. Yeah. I had to ask questions. I had so many questions.
But we did it in more of a one-on-one setting with the tour guides. And those tour guides, I'm just going to say, they are impressive. Whatever they're getting paid, they should double it because they make you feel like this is the greatest place in the world. They love their experience so far. And it's very infectious just how excited they are to be, a Clemson student or be a Georgia student. And I'm looking forward to the other tours we're going to go on here in the upcoming weeks and months.
So I did break that rule. I did ask questions. I asked one in a group setting when we were at the University of Georgia. And I loved our tour guide. What was his name?
I was actually booing when you asked that question under my breath. Yeah.
I broke many rules. I asked questions. I met the other parents. I exchanged phone numbers with the other parents.
When do you not break the rules, Paula? So it's just your MO.
So the question that I asked was in the group setting, do we have time to get a soda?
Oh,
that was my question. Do you remember this?
I do remember because you almost got lost. We kept going.
I did.
And it was about 5 to 8 minutes. And me and Caroline are like, where's your mom? We didn't know where you were and you didn't know where we were. But you know what? Caroline and I were just fine without you. So we survived.
You seemed to care. I legit got lost on the college tour. So I asked the tour guide, do we have time for a soda? Because there was another mom and I, we had met, we bonded. Let's call her Michelle. We exchanged phone numbers. Okay. She and I
She also had a Diet Coke addiction.
Mine's a Coke Zero addiction.
Coke Zero.
Anyway, we ask the tour guide, do we have time? And he says no. So what do?
You did it anyway.
We go on a quest, but we're walking through. It had to have been one of like the student life buildings because we walk downstairs and we see a ton of vending machines. And this mom and I, again, I'm going to call her Michelle. We're like, oh, we definitely have time. We run over there to get a Coke, and like the machines were possessed. They weren't working. I mean, I had my card swiping every machine. We tried probably 8 different.
I think that's a sign from the universe that you're supposed to stop drinking Coke Zero.
You know what? I refuse. I am persistent. She persisted. I persisted. I finally got my drink. Michelle finally got her drink. We also got waters.
And you almost missed the bus back to the student center.
Then we realized this had eaten up a lot of time. We didn't listen to the tour guide and when he said there wasn't time, and we just did our own thing. And then we don't know where we're going. Like, we're totally lost. I was like, did you not leave some breadcrumbs for us? But anyway, we did find we walked outside of the building and we're like, they're probably outside of the football stadium. So we finally found you guys outside of the football stadium, but it was a good, you said 5 to 8 minutes. I think it was more like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Finally found you guys, took a couple of photos, had our fountain drinks, got you a water and Caroline a water. So you were both hydrated as well.
Thank you.
All was well that ended well. But yeah, broke a couple of rules, got lost, didn't listen to the tour guide, and exchanged phone numbers with another parent, which I'm pretty sure we're not supposed to do. We're not supposed to talk or open our mouth or embarrass our kids. Right?
Well, you did all of those things, so congratulations. But that was our first tour at Georgia. I think we might have got a little bit better when we went to Clemson just because we had a little practice. I mean, we haven't gone on tours in 30 years since when we were looking at different universities. And it's a different experience today than it was back then.
But can I just ask you a legitimate question? So you went to school for college basketball. So you were getting recruited. I wasn't getting recruited to play the clarinet, which is what I went to college for with a music minor and dropped it like a hot brick.
Nerd.
Shut up. So anyway, I didn't get recruited like to play a sport. I mean, I did get an academic scholarship. I do not remember the college application process, the college tour process, any of the college process being like this. Like, I wanted to go to Michigan my whole life because my dad went, pretty much the whole family, cousins, like that. Saturdays, we tailgated in Ann Arbor. We went to the games. I grew up 25 minutes from the stadium. My dad did not want me to go to the University of Michigan because he thought that I would get in too much trouble. God rest his soul. Father, Edward Faris, you were not wrong. I probably would have gotten a ton of trouble, just like.
And you would have never met me.
Oh, I would have never met you.
Things happen for a reason.
But mainly, I would have gotten in a lot of trouble. So anyway, I think I only went on one college tour, which was Cedarville University. I went with the band. I mean, that's how I got introduced to Cedarville University. They used to host
band camp, right?
Shut up! It was a band symposium.
Oh, symposium. That sounds better than band
symposium. I was so good at the clarinet, but I just never loved it. So anyway, that's how I got exposed. I would say that was probably my only true college tour, college visit. And I went to Cedarville University in Ohio. So it's a totally different process. I don't understand how it's gotten out of hand. But for you got recruited to play basketball. Did you go on a lot of college tours? I don't think I even know the answer.
Yeah, I went on several tours, and typically I would be hanging out with the basketball coaches. Some of the basketball players would be going to a game. They'd just be showing me what it would look like to be a student athlete, because that's why I was going to college, to play basketball. Academics obviously was important, but it was more about the basketball environment that I was going to be part of, and the coaches and the players and the family that I was going to be joining.
You're such a jock, John.
Sorry.
I was going for the music and the education.
Nerd.
Okay. So anyway, we went to the University of Georgia, and then we scheduled a visit to Clemson University, which is near our house. So that was our second tour. And we have a couple of more tours scheduled later this year. We're going on a couple more next year. Clemson, I think we did a little bit better. I didn't really talk to as many. No, I did talk to a lot of people. I did ask a lot of questions. I really liked the tour guide. He was a kid from New Jersey. I was so surprised how many kids from the East Coast and even the Midwest. I don't think we met another student from South Carolina that was touring. They were New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, Chicago. Like, were you surprised by that? How many students are like wanting to get out of the Northeast and the Midwest?
Not as much, because part of something that I do in my career, I'm interviewing a lot of young people to join the commercial real estate industry. And a lot of them from the New York area or the Northeast go to Big Ten schools, go to SEC, ACC schools, and then they come back. So there is something about leaving that environment to go get a completely opposite experience. And then typically they'll come back and they'll start their careers, whatever those may be.
Right. Well, Clemson was surprising to me. I haven't really spent a lot of time on the campus. I didn't even know that the campus looked like that. And we live, 25 minutes away. I think it's always been too close for Caroline, but she is now open to it. And the reason I think she's open to it is because we had a conversation to set this whole thing up, the whole college conversation. Okay. Look, it's not right for every student. I don't think every kid needs to go to college. But when we did the series on college, the very first thing you need to do is talk about what you can afford as a family. Sit down and have that conversation. And so we told Caroline, look, you want to go to college, you think it's right for you, you want to go learn, you want to get a credential, you want to find your people, all of that. You want to go have a good time. We want her to go to college. And I think college should be an option for every student if they want to go, right? But again, it's not right for every student. She wants to go to college, but we sat down with her and we said, this is what we have put aside and what we are willing to pay for your college education. And this was great advice from Ron Lieber, who, if you go back and you listen to our college series, Ron Lieber kicked off the series. He's the New York Times money columnist. He's written extensively about college, but he said, sit down, have a conversation about what your family can afford. We did that. And I feel like that changed really our strategy of what schools were even looking at.
Well, she started taking ownership of this decision, and it wasn't just, well, I'm going to pick whatever school I want to go to, and I know mom and dad are going to pick up the whole bill. Whether we could or couldn't, we're not going to. We want her to be part of the process. And she started looking at, do I want to come out of college after 4 years and have debt? Or could I, get some scholarships, stay in state, go to a more affordable university, still get a great education, great experience, and put myself in a better financial position once I graduate. And so she's now thinking as more of a mature adult, which that's the whole purpose. And that episode that you just referenced was phenomenal. I did listen to that one. I didn't listen to the one about mother-in-laws, but about money in college, that was a really good one. And I had some takeaways.
Totally up your alley. So we sat down with her and we said, we have this amount of money put aside, and this is also what we're willing to put forth for your college education. Anything on top of that, Caroline, it's going to be on you. So you're either going to have to take out college loans, you're going to have to get scholarships. And I think, like you said, John, she's starting to look at it as a business decision. She's starting to take ownership of it. And now she's really starting to look in state, which I know a lot of financial experts will say you're like an idiot if you let your kid go out of state. We both went out of state for school. I
think Dave Ramsey has either a quote or a podcast or just a conversation about just the importance of not going into debt for college. And you can pretty much get anything you want at a local state university. There's very few universities that have specific degrees that you can't get at any state college.
Right. So state college or even community college, all three of my siblings went to community college. I'm the only one that didn't. I took out loans. I was in debt, I think 50 or 60,000. You had a full ride for basketball. So I'm okay if kids have to take out a little bit of debt. I think they have a little more ownership and skin in the game. I'm okay with that. And I don't want to be that parent that's like, you can go anywhere. I'll write your ticket. I saw kids that had full rides from their parents and they just took advantage of it. So I never wanted to be that parent, but to each his own. I'm not judging anybody. You do what's right for your family. But anyway, so we sat down, had that conversation, and now she's really, I think that's the first place you start is you say, this is what we have put aside, and you start from there. And what that's going to do is that's going to help kind of like narrow the focus a little bit. And not really near, because Caroline was looking at Hawaii and Pepperdine, and she can still look at those, but now she's looking at it through a realistic lens of, oh my gosh, if I want to go there, then this is what mom and dad are prepared to pay for my college education, and this is what I am going to have to be.
Yeah, in most of these universities, what I've found is you can go in state, but you can go study abroad, and they actually encourage it for a semester or a few months. So if you want to get that Hawaii experience, that coastal experience, that European experience, you can get that pretty much at any state university.
Yeah, I totally agree. But Clemson went really well. I would love it if she went there because it's so close, but I'm continuing to use reverse psychology. And she's like, Mom, would you stop? I totally know what you're doing. But it would make sense because you can get, in-state scholarships. The tuition is so much lower. It's a great university. And I promised her, I said, I will not stalk you, even though I'm so close. I will not move into the dorm. I will not live off campus with you. I will not stalk you. Like, I've taken a vow to give her some space. So I think she's now considering it, which is really cool. Also, when you have that conversation to just say, this is what we're willing to put forth and narrow down the focus. The tour guide said something at Clemson. He said, you got to go with your gut. And I thought that was really good advice for the students. Go with your gut. What kind of experience are you looking for? You're going to get a certain feeling on the campus and go with that.
Yeah, I agree with that. He really made it feel like if you love like the university and just like the feeling and you love the people who you're around and you can like identify with them and say, yeah, these are my people. It doesn't matter whether it's Georgia, whether it's, UCLA, Clemson, Michigan. That's the most important thing you should be looking for. Do I feel like I fit in here? Are these my people? Is this the right environment for me to spend the next 4 years? Because it is a big commitment. Yeah.
And speaking of like, you just said Michigan, people ask me all the time, don't you want her to go to Michigan? And I'm like, I would love her to, but she wants nothing to do with the cold weather. And I also I think we have to be careful as parents to not project like our own hopes and dreams and goals and aspirations.
That's a whole nother conversation, Paula, because there are a lot of young kids that only decide to go to a university because their parents went to it and because their parents had such a good experience 20, 30 years ago. But things change. Universities change. Experiences change. So I think we're trying to look at it from what's best for Caroline and empower her to make that decision because it is her decision. It's not ours.
I know, but I would love her to go to Michigan. I really would. I'd love any of my kids to go to the University of Michigan, but Caroline has unequivocally said no cold schools. She wants nothing to do with the cold weather.
No cold schools.
No cold schools.
You got to start your list somewhere. So there you go.
You know what? Run your race, sis. Run.
And speaking of lists, Paula, that is something we've done after each college tour. We've sat down, we've made a list. What do we like? What do we don't like? Because I think if you can start to figure out what you don't want in a university, you'll then start to figure out what you actually do want. And it's been a really good practice for her to do with us listening in as well.
That's one thing that I would suggest for every parent that's doing this. And that was your idea, John, right after the tour, we either went to lunch. And by the way, this has really been special time with Caroline and you and I, that just the three of us, we wanted the boys to come. And she asked us kindly, she's like, Mom, she said, Mom and Dad, they'll be a distraction. And so we honored that.
I think she actually said, Landon will ruin it for us. Or no, Landon will ruin it for me. Those were her exact words.
Oh gosh. Okay. So we have honored and respected that. And I know that that's not always possible. And it is fun to kind of share with the whole family, but she wanted it to be just the three of us. We did see a lot of other siblings of students, prospective students on the tour, and that was fun too. But she really wanted it to just be the three of us. But after each tour, we took some time and we sat down. We either did it in the car or at lunch, and we're like, okay, what did we like and what didn't we like? And we started like a running list for each university so she can go back and reference, right? Because I think they all probably start to blend together a little bit, especially we have like 2 more scheduled, in 2024. We got a couple scheduled in 2025. So going back to that list, I would advise any parent and your child to like start making a list of things, pros and cons.
Because she can't even apply for another 8 or 9 months. Isn't it like August that's when the application process starts?
I don't know. Like the FAFSA form, she's starting to take she's starting to take the tests. But yeah, I think there's like, I think it's
August 1st is the date. So she's still got a lot of time.
Yeah, that overwhelms me to think about it. But it has been really special time. So take it, like, I've been surprised by that, how special this time is. And
it's been good for the 3 of us to have this experience together.
A question from Laura Shaw, John. She says, do your kids want to go to college near home or choose one far away? Do they want to follow in your footsteps with college choices? We lived in California and my youngest, they are twins, chose Michigan and Cornell. Great schools, but so far away at the time.
I mean, my answer is like, I want Caroline to go where she feels like she should be. And whether that's just down the street or hundreds of miles away, that's her decision, because I don't want her to be in an environment just because I want her to be in that environment. And I don't want her to study something at school just because maybe you or I want her to. She has to take ownership. And we're trying to empower our 17-year-old daughter to make these decisions. And we're going to support her decisions. But she also has to know what potential implications by making those decisions and what they would have on her.
Well, and I think I say yes and no to some of that because
are you disagreeing with me? We don't disagree. Come on, Paula. That's not something we do.
I'm totally disagreeing with you.
Especially on the podcast in front of our viewers or your viewers. They're not mine.
Oh, no, I yes and no, because like we both went out of state, right? But I was still somewhat close to home. I was within.
We could drive. It was a day's drive.
We could drive. I think when your kid goes across country, that's tough. I hear Arthur Brooks, who's a Harvard professor, in the back of my mind when Laura asked this question, because I saw Professor Brooks at a conference and I said, do you have any advice for, we're just starting this process. He's like, get your kids to go within a day's drive, because, this is their first year away. They're going to be so heavily influenced at the university, and, a lot of them have a hard time. So he's like, just make sure you're close. That's not realistic for a lot of people. I know for us, I would love it if Caroline stayed close within a day's drive, within like a 5-hour drive, and even within state because of the financial implications as well, because scholarships, in-state tuition, all of that. So there's a lot to be factored. Yes, I'd love her to stay close. I want her to run her race. But I think, again, having that initial conversation, this is what we have set aside. It changed everything for us. It changed the direction and the strategy of the whole college approach. So that's, if you start anywhere, it's how much are we willing to pay for college and put aside for our kids. So, but yeah, I would be heartbroken if she went super far away. I told her, I said, you can go far away for college, but you got to come back home, or you can go close to college and then you can live far away after college. So whatever, though, I got to let go. I'm a control freak. I just got to let her run her race, John.
Say that one more time. I couldn't hear that.
I got to let her run her race, or that I'm a control freak. Both
the second part. Yeah, the second part.
I'm a control freak a little bit.
There you go. Okay. I didn't think I heard you right. You know what it is? What?
You know what it is?
What is it? Oh, wow. Look at that. Cap and gown. What year was that?
This is kindergarten.
That's kindergarten graduation. First of all, it's hilarious that people graduate from kindergarten. We make like a big deal about a 5-year-old being able to write the letter A, and they get a cap and gown, but she is so cute.
She's in kindergarten in this photo. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm holding up a school photo of her graduating kindergarten from Holy Name.
Oh, yeah.
When we lived in New York City, in the
Upper West Side. I remember walking 2 blocks to school every day.
And this is her first grade picture when she went to Chatsworth Elementary in Larchmont, New York, when we moved to the suburbs. But this is like, it happened so fast. Yeah. I feel like I was just dropping her off at elementary school and kindergarten, and now we're looking at colleges. And I'm not trying to scare anybody because it gets better. It really does. But holy bleep, it happens fast.
Yeah, it does. So words of encouragement, embrace the moment you're in. If your kids are 5, enjoy them being 5. Don't think about them being 10 or 15 or, think about them being 2 or 3. Just embrace what's in front of you because it does go by fast. And our parents told us that, older friends told us that. And now we're telling you guys that it does go fast. So embrace the moment, be present. That's our best piece of advice, or my best piece of advice for you.
It does. It feels like yesterday for me. And I'm not trying. Look, I don't feel any guilt. It gets so much better, but it just, man, everybody tells you it's going to happen quick. You're going to blink and they'll be grown and flown. And it happens super quick. And I'm so excited. Look, I don't buy the lie of there's 18 summers, and I think it gets better and better and better, and your relationship changes. But I get real nostalgic.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I think you hit on something important. Your relationship changes, and good, you're crying. Mm-hmm. So we've achieved something here in this podcast. We've laughed, we've cried, we've thought about the past. We're talking about the future. So we're checking every box on this podcast.
We sure are. Okay, so John, this has been great. And again, we're going to talk a little bit more about college and some of the hottest topics from 2024 as we kick off the new year. In January, some of our hottest topics in 2024 were college, teenagers, menopause, and politics. And that's how we're going to kick off 2025. John, you're going to join me if I haven't told you already. We're going to recap some of our favorite moments and some of those hot topics and kind of refresh the conversation and give our take on those as we kick off the new year. But
like I would say,
college,
have your people talk to my people, and we'll see if we can coordinate a schedule that works.
So I should talk to myself, right?
Yes, because you are my people. You're my only people.
You're my people too. So that's how we're going to kick off the new year. Next week, we're going to be back with our Ask Us Anything episode, and we have some doozies. As I mentioned earlier, if you're signed up for my personal newsletter, paulafarisofficial.com, lots of fun giveaways, an extension of the conversations that we have on this podcast, kind of like some insider information. I actually shared about our Clemson and Georgia visits in the newsletter. So real just like personal look at what's going on in our lives, hoping to just encourage you wherever you are, but opened up to the subscribers the first crack at the Ask Us Anything questions. And there's some real good ones. We're going to be talking about our teens dating, whether or not John and I fight, and how we, conflict resolution, the news world. Do we ever not see eye to eye on our social lives? Ever? John, aging parents, children growing up and moving out, colleges, how to not be annoyed with your spouse. That's a great one. Wow, we could do an entire episode on how to not be annoyed with your spouse.
Yeah, I don't know if I have the right answer for that one, so maybe we'll skip that.
But how we keep it spicy in our relationship. Relationships seem to be like a common theme among so many of you. Thank you to all of you who sent us questions. We will get to all of them in our episode next week as we wrap up 2024. It's going to be our final episode of 2024. We're going to take 2 weeks off because we need to not talk about it. I need to shut my mouth for 2 weeks and rest.
We'll be talking about a lot of things, but with all of our family that's going to be coming into town for Christmas. So it's going to be fun.
And that's a perfect time for you, John, to get caught up on the episodes that you haven't listened to, like the one I did about your mom, my mother-in-law.
Maybe I could listen to it with my mom, and then we could have a nice conversation with you about it and our thoughts and opinions.
We could talk all about it, but we'll be back next week, y'all, as we continue to talk about. Thanks for sending us your questions. We cannot wait to answer them. We're going to keep it real and honest like we always do, and we are going to talk about it. See you,
Thanks,
John.
everybody.
See everybody. I know you guys thought you were done with me, but not quite yet. I have one more thing to tell you about. If you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, don't forget to subscribe to the show. I don't want you to miss a single beat or a single conversation. And remember, my DMs are always open. Tell me what you want to talk about.